All right. Hey, folks. Phil Gallagher here. When was that? Thursday, we didn't quite get to finish the Search Stompy stream. We got through 4 of the 5 matches. We ended up having some really long, grindy games. And, so for example, we played against White Weenie where we realistically could have won by decking them, which was really, really weird. And there were a couple other games kind of that ilk. And so the stream went a little longer than expected. So we're going to finish up round 5 of that stream, just kind of real quick. And once we've done that, we're going to play a Karuga, the Macro Sage deck, which is something that I've never gotten to play with before. So we'll see if the giant dinosaur hippo can do some things. I don't believe the league was going particularly well. I think we were 1-3 when we left up. Yeah, we were 1-3. We won round 1 versus White Weenie, and then we had a couple of really interactive games that didn't break our way, but were still pretty fun. We did some really interesting things, that's for sure. Winds of Abandon, in particular, was very, very good for us. I hope your weekend is off to a good start. We are playing a Luris Mirror. We have an okay start. We have turn 1 of these. So we're definitely not throwing this hand back. So it looks like we're probably playing against Delver. We don't know for sure, but that's the most likely thing given that opener. Let's see if our opponent has 5-0'd recently. They have not. This is probably the card that I'm going to like least in the next few turns. So I think we're going to throw that under the Honor of the Pure. Sorry, we're going to throw that under the Chrome Mox. And then it's more interesting from there. If I resolve Chalice of the Void, it makes it more likely that these things stay alive, but you want to jam Leon and Arbiter as quickly as possible. Opponent shuffled with the Ponder. I think I want to play Chalice next turn around Daze and play the Arbiter here. It's super awkward if they have Bolt. But if they don't have a Bolt, this is probably worth a Force of Will. Okay, so both of these 2 cards are going to be very good against that. So if I play this and my opponent has Lightning Bolt, I probably lose the game. They bolt the Magistrate, they attack with Arcanist, they bolt the Arbiter. So I'm going to play Chalice of the Void instead. And if this gets Force of Willed, I'm not in great shape. Yeah, I was really happy with how that last episode came together. Oh, very nice. We're now probably a strong favorite to win this game. So the Delver decks that are playing Luris don't get to play Brazen Borrower, so they don't get the free roll card that just gets to play around like Chalice as the game goes along. So we've shut off this. We've decreased the power of Young Pyromancer by quite a bit. My opponent has no mana sources towards Lurrus at this point. Yeah, things are looking good. I don't think I show a Caracas yet. I know Bryant Cook posted about that on his Twitter. So if you comb his Twitter history from the last week, you should be able to find it. I don't know what the site is. I haven't saved mine yet. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to just tighten my stranglehold on this game a little bit. Before I go and play out my good stuff. So like now it costs my opponent 4 to search. It costs them 2 to like Wasteland or destroy my Caracas if that's something they want to do. From multiple different angles, we probably keep them from casting their Lurrus this game now. All right. So my own Lurrus not looking great in the face of that Caracas, unfortunately. So now we're just chilling. We'll draw a Sarah Avenger or something eventually and start crashing in for damage. Third one. Okay, yeah. So this is the sort of card that I'm looking for. All right, that's our win condition. Life is good. And if our opponent kills that, that's when we'll cast our Lurrus. We'll cast the Lurrus when we have 6-ish mana available in a turn. Yeah, and our opponent scoops it up here. They couldn't answer our Chalice and folded appropriately. All right, so last time around versus Delver, I think I boarded in these 5 removal spells, boarded out Chalice, and then I think I boarded in some number of like this sort of stuff too over suppression fields when I was on the draw. The idea being that if we like stop from dying and we stop Arcanist and Lurrus from taking over the game, that we probably lock things down hard enough that we're in pretty good shape. And then if we lose game 2 and we're on the play, we can consider the suppression field over some of this stuff that has collateral damage on us. So the other question is, do I just want to like trim one legendary creature to play the other Draft Digger's Cage? And I think the answer is yes. The other random thing I could board in over these is just something like a Relic Warder, so I don't get got by Winter Orb, which is a pretty common inclusion these days. I don't know that my opponent would Winter Orb, like given kind of the nature of my deck, but it's something that I need to be thinking about. But the last podcast episode I was super happy with. Feel like we're really starting to like get better at our transitions. We're better at like playing off each other and doing that sort of thing. Really happy with our progress thus far, and I feel like the content is of very high quality as well. Like, not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm very happy with the product that we're producing. And people seem to like it as well. Agathocles, thank you very much for your support. That will get us to our next stream goal, and I like your username as well. I did, I'm a classicist, obviously, like I'm a Latin teacher. So I did Greek in grad school and undergrad as well, so I have a good appreciation for the roots. My Greek's real rusty at this point, but it gets me by. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. I think we have a good series of things that we don't super care if our stuff gets countered or killed. So like we have 2 lands here, so we have the ability to play removal spell on 1 if they have a Delver, and then we have 3 different cards that we can jam to deal with Arcanist and Lurrus, and that's an okay place to be in. Yeah, so we'll play the Source of Plowshares into Daze on 1 in an attempt to get it to eat a counterspell. No counterspell. I feel like the Legacy podcast game has been pretty strong recently. The folks at ELO Punters are doing a really good job of putting out content as well. This turn's kind of hard. Like, Magistrate stops them from playing Lurrus, but I don't think they're to the point where they want to cast Lurrus yet. Thalia will be good against Lurrus in combat, and clunks up what my opponent's doing. Arbiter may keep them off of things. They'd have to have, like, a Fatal Push. If I play Thalia, it becomes harder for me to do Rest in Peace and Magistrate in a turn. I think I'm going to go with Arbiter here. What lines are really not clear-cut with this deck? So, like, I have 4 different turn 2 plays that all have varying degrees of merit and play around various things. Arbiter loses value every turn that it sits in your hand. So the sooner you get it into play, the better, which is why I'm opting to play it over Thalia this turn. Nice. That's quite good. I think I'm going to clunk up my own hand a little bit to play the Thalia. I have 2 cards in hand that it disrupts, but my opponent is going to have a bunch of baubles and things of that nature that it also disrupts. Ooh, no Fatal Push or equivalent from our opponent. Thalia lives to fight another day. Okay, there's a push. I hope opponent is lazy and just like pushes pre-combat. That'd be cool. don't have too much of a reason to push on their turn. There's Caracas that they need to play around, but it's unclear whether or not they'll be getting rid of Thalia or Arbiter. We'll find out, though. Okay, they need to fetch. That's fair. I think I want to respect my own Lurrus, so I'm not going to jam Rest in Peace here. I'm just going to go ahead and jam Dranic Magistrate and make it harder for their own Lurrus to hit play. And if opponent can remove one of Magistrate or Thalia, assuming they have like a Lightning Bolt or something like that, which I kind of feel like they do since they valued getting their Ooh. Since they valued turning on their Scalding Tarn. Alright, I'm going to use a double spell of some nature this turn. That's pretty good. I think it starts with resolving another Drannith Magistrate. We do not want to lose the game to our opponent's idiot. Alright, now I'll upkeep, try to remove this. That plays around Force of Negation, and if they have a counterspell to protect this, they have to use the mana on their turn, which will free up more mana on my turn. That's fine. We got 3 mana of value out of that Source of Plowshares. I'm perfectly happy with that. Nice, nice. So I guess the question becomes, do I just like cast my Lurrus or do I remove the Delver this turn? If I remove the Delver, I'm not really doing anything else this turn. So my Lurrus is guaranteed to resolve if I cast it here. But I'm not sure that it is correct to just cast it. I think I want to remove my opponent's threat first. I can play this into Pierce and then save the Source of Plowshares to be more flexible later. GG's. Okay, this is how a lot of my leagues have been going recently. I've gone 2-3 an astounding number of times with decks very similar to this one. I feel like we're not quite there, and that the Lurrus Daze decks are just better than the Lurrus non-Daze decks by quite a bit. And so when you're trying to fight those fair fights, you end up falling a little bit behind because you're not as good at protecting your Lurrus. Instead of like protecting your Lurrus, you're instead trying to build this house of cards where your opponent's Lurrus isn't as good, and then you just like win via the traditional like Stompy style stuff. And I'm not 100% sure how viable that is. It has only felt of medium power level to me. Um, the deck's been very fun. I've enjoyed playing it a lot, but my success level with it has been like medium minus. Where over time I think I could like break even or get slightly ahead with it, but I don't know that it's worth my time to continue working on this archetype until like Loris gets the axe in some capacity or companions are gone. So like the games where I do my things and I stick the early hate pieces and it works are super good, and the mana acceleration has been fantastic. But I feel like any game where my opponent like does get to do their primary game plan, things get harder. So like a Tarmogoyf hits play and I have trouble dealing with that, especially in game one. Or if my opponent like does play a Lurrus, it's unchecked for 2 turns and they've drawn 2 extra cards off of it, like that's very bad for me as well. But I don't know, like the deck has potential, and if you're a brewer, I encourage you to play around with this sort of thing, because like as we've seen, there are non-conventional ways to try to attack Legacy that have real potential right now, and maybe this is one of them. All right, so